everyone. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Flavio, and I'm answering your questions about drug addiction. Today, we are talking about treatment for opiate addiction, in particular a drug called Suboxone, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. So, what is Suboxone? Suboxone is a very weak opiate, which has a lot of special properties, which is used to treat opiate addiction, and that is addiction to drugs like prescription painkillers such as Percocet and Oxycontin, and also illegal drugs like heroin and fentanyl. So a lot of people say that using Suboxone to treat opiate addiction is just trading one addiction for another. And we're going to explore a little bit today whether that's the case or not. Because I understand why some people are confused by it and they think you're taking an opiate, which is the exact same same type of drug that people are addicted to, and giving it to them every day. How is that any different than being addicted to heroin? So let's start off by talking a little bit about what drug addiction actually is, and how is it different from drug dependence. So let's take a couple of examples. A really helpful one is to think about a cancer patient. So sometimes when people get cancer, it'll be tremendously painful. It can go into their bones or other parts of their body, and they need to take opiates every day just so that they can feel normal. Very, very high doses, hundreds of milligrams a day. And these people are totally physically dependent on opiates, but we never think of them as being drug addicts. And why is that? I think the reason for that is because drug addiction is about a lot more than physical dependence. It's about the behaviors that are associated with using drugs. So when we think about someone or we have personal experience with someone, or we are someone who has suffered from drug addiction, we can look and we can see how drug use changed our behaviors. And one of the big examples is how people spend their time. So someone who is addicted to opiates, or any drug for that matter, spends a tremendous amount of their time trying to get that drug. They will ignore a lot of things that are important to them. Their family, people that they love, people that they've had long-term relationships with. They'll ignore their work because they put the drug above everything else. And I think a common misconception is that that's really what these people want to do. That's what people who are addicted to drugs really care about. And nothing could be farther from the truth. One of the hallmarks of drug addiction is that you experience all of these negative consequences for your actions, but you can't stop. Any normal person, even you, would prefer to stop, but you can't. So one example might be in the realm of your health. Maybe you're doing things that are dangerous in order to procure drugs, or you hurt yourself while you're high. A person in a different type of situation who wasn't addicted would take stock and decide that they wanted to live a different way. People who are addicted to drugs might have those feelings, but they can't act on them. And they keep using drugs to the detriment of themselves and to people around them. So we are all very familiar with that type of behavior, which is not just hurtful to the people around the one who's using drugs, but is also oftentimes illegal and dangerous. So how is it then that Suboxone, which is also an opiate, is not just trading one addiction for another? And the answer is that addiction is about more than just taking a drug. It's about the behaviors that you exhibit when you take that drug. And as anyone knows, when they have gotten to know people who are in treatment for drug addiction with Suboxone, when they're doing well, those behaviors virtually disappear. And what we see is a complete restoration of life that the person who's dependent on opiates has been hoping for a long time. So the person who is on Suboxone, they can work, they can spend their time as they choose, their free will is really restored, they're no longer chasing a high, they spend time with people that they love, and they take care of themselves. And what you can see there is that even though they're still physically dependent on a drug, maybe they need it, that doesn't mean that they're addicted. It means that they're dependent. And while that might just seem like semantics to some of you, when it comes down to a person's real lived experience, it is all of the difference in the world. So I would encourage you all to stop stigmatizing the use of Suboxone to treat drug addiction. Recognize that everyone's recovery is different. And maybe you were able to recover from drug addiction without certain types of medical care, but many people cannot. And that Suboxone these days is the most effective treatment that we have for drug addiction. So it's important to end the stigma and to make sure that everyone who's struggling with opiate addiction can get access to this important medicine. So please, if you have any other questions, please look in the comment section below for my information, and please feel free to submit your questions. Thank you all very much.